Okay, so another basic console app. We're still in week 4, and it's a bar chart. It's doing a little simple bar chart this time. So the Huntington High School basketball team has 5 players, and I've changed the names here because I wanted to use my own data. So it's a little bit different to the question you might see in a textbook. I've used my own names. So we've got 5 players. The question's still the same apart from that, except the number of points scored by each player in the game, and create a bar chart that illustrates the points scored. So we're going to prompt the user to enter the points. The user's entering these points here, and then we'll generate a bar graph based on that. So Moose has got 3 points, so he's got 3 stars. Frankie's got 12 points, so he's got 12 stars, and so on. Okay, so that's how it works. So again, it's using loops. If you've got 3 points, you have to loop 3 times and produce 3 stars. If you've got 12 points, you have to loop 12 times and produce 12 stars. Okay, and we'll do this the straightforward way, which is awkward. Actually, we'll have to probably stay with the straightforward way because I haven't done enough Java yet. It's hard not to go ahead and show you more Java, but there's other things we'll do later on. We'll be able to compact our code right down, but we'll just do it the hard way for now. Okay, so the hard way, which is also not the very good way, but we haven't done enough Java yet to proceed. So public class bar chart, public static void main string square brackets. Oh, I mucked that up. String square brackets args. Okay, so we're going to prompt the user for input. Let's just use the scanner class. We use good old scanner. Import java.util.scanner. Okay, so we're going to declare a scanner object. Scanner, I call mine KB usually, KB for keyboard, and equals new scanner system.in. Okay, so we're using the default input device, which is a keyboard, and we use KB, that's our scanner object, to get input from the keyboard. So we've got 5 players. Let's get the points scored by each one, and system.out.println, enter points scored by Moose. Later on in the term, if you come back and look at this question again with things we've learnt like arrays and methods, come back and look at this question. You better do it a much simpler, better way. But anyway, we'll do it the longer way, which is what we can do right now. So int Moose points equals kb dot next int. Get the next integer from the keyboard, and then we'll do the same for each of the players. Just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And then we're doing Frankie points, and then we're doing Bella for Bella and Bella points, and that should start with a lowercase b because we're doing proper Java naming convention there, lowercase f. Enter points for Teeny, and it's Teeny points with a lowercase t, and it's Sam points, and it's Sam with a lowercase s. So you can see how just copying and pasting your code can save you a lot of typing. Just highlight the code, go Control C, go down to where you want to paste it, and go Control V, and away you go. It can save you a lot of time. Just space those out a little bit. So now we've got the points entered by, or scored by each player, and now we need to graph them. Now we haven't done methods yet, so we're going to have a lot of repetition here. Okay, so we'll output this as well. Points scored bar graph. System.out.println. And you'll see that there's a blank line. If you want to match this exactly, there's a blank line there, and then the points scored bar graph. So we can either do 2 print line statements, or else we can do it all in one /n plus. Okay, now you don't have to, this is just a escape character, the /n, which means put a blank line there. You can join those together if you like, that's quite okay, you can do them like that. I just, for some reason, I don't know why, but I like separating them. I like having the escape characters on their own, and then the normal string data on its own. But you can certainly put them together into one string if you like. That's perfectly okay, and you'll see a lot of people do that. But I like keeping mine separate. The escape character should be separate from the normal data, I think. But anyway, that's just my view. Okay, let's do a loop. Let's just do the loop for moose. So system.out.println. We want to output the name, moose. And what does it say on the graph? It just says moose, okay. And you'll notice as well that each of these lines up to be, so it's like there's, this doesn't follow the names, it's nice and neat, so it lines up. Okay, so let's just worry about moose for now. So, so we'll output moose, there's no colon there, and we want to do a for loop for int points equals 0, points is less than moose points, colon, points plus plus. So this is the for loop there. And in each time through the for loop, we'll output an asterisk. And we don't want to do a print line because that's going to put one on a new line each time. We're going to do a print, so it's keeping the cursor on the same line. Okay, and at the end of that, we're going to do a print line to get ready for the next player. Okay, so print means keep it all on the same line. So it's going to be an asterisk followed by an asterisk followed by an asterisk. If moose had 3 points, there would be 3 asterisks. So print means keep it all on the same line. Print line means throw a new line at the end of the output. So it starts then at the start of the next line. So we could run that and see how that looks. We probably don't want to input everybody now. We'll just input moose for now because we're just testing moose. Okay, so we'll comment those out. So we'll just enter some points in moose and then graph mooses. Okay, and then we'll worry about adding the other ones in. Control 1, control 2. Points by moose is 3. Oh, and we got moose followed by 3 stars. So we want that up on this line here following moose. Okay, so let's make that print there for moose a print. That print line a print. So we're just going to print moose. Okay, change that print line to a print. Oops, sorry. Control 1, control 2. Let's enter 3 points. And that's looking pretty good. We want a bit of a buffer in there. So again, we want to something like that. That's looking pretty good. Okay, that's the sort of thing we want. Okay. The other thing the question has is it's just a small point, but we're entering the data over here. The way my program's running at the moment, we're entering the data down here on the next line. So what we want to do is change these to prints. Print, not print line. So the cursor stays at the end of this line waiting for input. Okay, so just a small point. So now the cursor will hover at the end waiting for us to type a number. It won't be down on the next line. So I'll show you that as well. So we'll do a 3. See the cursor's up there on that line? So type 3 and then we get the moose's bar graph. So that's pretty good. We'll now extend it onto Frankie, so we'll get Frankie working as well. And because we haven't done methods yet, we're going to have a lot of duplicate code, I'm afraid. But that's the way it goes. Oops. So we're going to have Frankie points, and it's Frankie points there, and it's Frankie. Okay, let's see how they look. Control 1, control 2. Points by moose is 3, points by Frankie's 12. And there we go, so we've got the nice little graphs coming out now. So if that's okay with you, let me see if I can show you a way where we can streamline all this code. Okay, see this code here? I'll just leave a space there. So this code here is really identical to this code. The only thing that's changed is the name that's being printed, okay, and the points it's being looped for, okay. So they're virtually identical codes. we haven't done methods yet. Will I jump ahead? Yeah, I will jump ahead. Look, let's jump ahead. This really needs methods. Otherwise, we're going to have so much duplicate code. So let's make this a method. Okay, this bit of code here, and we'll just create a little method up here. So we'll make it a private static void print bar for player. Okay, so that's the name of the method. We're creating a method. So this is a method here. It's just a named block of code. This is all of code that belongs in the main method. All that code there belongs in the main method. So we're just creating another method up here, which is just a named block of code. Okay, and so we can call it. And what we're going to do is pass through the player's name, string name, and an integer for their points. Scored, points scored. Okay, and we'll paste that code in that we had for Moose there, but instead of printing out Moose, we're going to print out name followed by spaces. Okay, so we're going to print out whatever name is passed into the method. Okay, so that's our, and then we're going to loop through that many points. Oh, it's going to be points scored now, points scored. So we're going to display whatever name is passed in, and we're going to loop according to whatever points scored is passed in. So when we call this method, we're going to pass in a string for the player's name and an integer for the points scored. And it's going to display the name there, and it's going to loop for that many points scored. Okay, now put asterisks. And then when it's printed out 3 or 5 or whatever asterisks, it's going to do a print line, which is going to bring the cursor down onto a new line, and then it's going to exit. This means exit the method, and it's going to return back to where the line after where you called it. Okay, so where it was called. Okay, so let's have a look at that in action. And we'll look at replacing now this code down here in our method, in the main method, Moose, followed by Moose points. That takes care of Moose, and then we'll do Frankie as well. Frankie followed by Frankie points. 1, 2, 3. We'll just leave a bit of a space there so we can space things out on the when it's printed out on the bar chart. And now we can comment out this code. But we don't need this code anymore. So instead of having this for every player, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever lines of code, we've got one line of code. So we've got no duplication. Okay. So what this code here does, it calls the print bar for player method, and it passes through Moose and Moose points as the parameters, and up here they're accepted into the method. So Moose comes in here as name, and whatever Moose's points were comes in here as points scored. So whatever name is there is printed, and whatever point score is passed in is controlling the loop. Okay, so we do it for Moose, and then we do it for Frankie. I realise we haven't done methods yet, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but this is just helping you save a lot of duplication. We're going to be doing a lot of methods later on in the term. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's see if it works first before we jump ahead. Control 1, Control 2, enter the points to Moose, 3, enter the points to Frankie, 12, and then we've got the bars. So see they're coming out nicely? Everything's looking good. Okay, let's now open it up for the other players. So we've got uncomment that code. Okay, we'll leave that commented code out there so you can see that if you ever need to refer back to it. And now we'll also add in the other players down here. Print bar for Bella. And Bella points. And Teeny. And Teeny points. And Sam. And Sam points. Okay, there is a trick. While we're padding everything with spaces there is a trick we can use to not have to do that. But I don't want to show you too much in one video. So I think I've showed you too much already. But anyway, let's run out and see that in action. Control 1, Control 2, Moose points 3, Frankie 12, Bella scored 19, Tinny scored 27, Sam scored 8, and there's our bar chart. Okay, so there's 3 asterisks for Moose because he got 3 points. There's probably 12 for Frankie. I'm not going to count them, but I'm sure there's 12 because he scored 12 points. 19 for Bella, 27 for Teeny, and 8 for Sam. Okay, so that's that in action. Let's just do a quick walk through the code again to make sure everything's okay. So we saw some new stuff that we weren't probably supposed to see this early yet. We've got good old scanner, that's nothing new. Displaying a prompt and getting input from the user, that's nothing new. We saw that we could produce a bar for each player by writing this code, and that would loop for that many points and put a star out to the line for each point and then do a print line. And we saw we had to repeat that code each time for each player, which is going to be pretty laborious. So I showed you a shortcut we can use, and that's where you create your own methods, and it saves you all that duplication, saves you duplicating all that code for each player. Okay, so when we print bar for player Moose and Moose points, Moose gets passed through as name, up here, sorry, as name, and Moose points gets passed through there. So whatever value name is gets printed there, and whatever value Moose points had, it's going to get looping. It's going to control a loop inside here. Okay, so it's a pretty neat little method there. Saves us a lot of duplication. So don't let methods scare you. They're really only just named blocks of code, and you can pass things to methods so they can do their work. For example, you could pass in strings and integers and dates and doubles, and whatever you want to pass in, you can pass in as much data as you like. But if the order is a string followed by an int, you must pass the data through in that order. So a string followed by an int, a string followed by an int. Okay, so you must pass the data through in the right order. And that's all they are, just named blocks of code. And whenever you call them, so when I call it for Frankie, or when I call it for Moose, that data gets passed into the method. And when the method exits, it's done its work and it hits that closing brace, it exits, and it continues on the next line of code here. So then it happens to run itself again and passes through the data for Frankie. Goes and does its business, comes back and returns to the next line of code after that. So then it does it for Bella, and then for Teeny, and then for Sam. Okay, so that's how it all works. Pretty cool, eh? Okay, I hope that was useful. I really had to show you the methods, otherwise we end up with an amount of duplicate code there, which we can easily avoid. If these methods scare you at this stage, maybe stick to duplicating the code for now. Okay, but we're going to be moving on to methods real soon, so it's a good idea to get used to them. Okay, hope that was useful. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.